in July. Bharat exported drugs and pharma worth $11.9 billion in April to August 2024 period, marking an 8.1% increase compared to the same period last year. The surge has turned this sector into Bharat's fourth largest category, up from 6th place in 2023. And according to a Grant Thornton survey, investor optimism for India remains strong, with 86% anticipating increased allocation to the country despite global economic challenges. Deal activity in the country has surged, with 643 deals worth $17.1 billion recorded in the first half of 2024. Bharat's leap from 11th to 5th place in the global GDP rankings and status as the 5th largest stock market further enhance its appeal. Those are the positives, and of course there's this big positive, ladies and gentlemen. This day marks the first phase of assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir, the first since the abrogation of Article 370, the first in the last decade. Over 23 lakh voters will be deciding the fate of 219 candidates across 24 constituencies, and the ballots are cast. This is across 7 districts of Jammu and Kashmir. Voting in Jammu and Kashmir has largely remained peaceful, with no untoward incidents reported in any of the 24 assembly constituencies. Yes, there has been some aji-baji between the local candidates and some ruckus at some polling booths, etc. But that is par for course in a normal election, in a Vidhan Sabha election. But there has been no mega untoward elections. Clearly, the bullet has been trumped. It's the ballot that's become visible there all across these 7 districts, across these 24 constituencies, assembly constituencies. Jammu and Kashmir has recorded a historic voter turnout of 58.85%. Now this is nearly 60%, and there is possibility of an upward revision when the final votes are collated and the numbers come in and settle perhaps early on Thursday morning. And this is in the first phase of the J&K assembly election. So it's going to only get better. Anantnag, 54.17% at 6 p.m. There is Doda at 69.33%. So Doda nearly 70%. And this is around 7 p.m., 6 p.m. So this could further get consolidated and revised upward. Kishtwar is 77.23%. Kulgam is nearly 60%. Pulwama 43.87%. Ramban 67.71%. And Shopaya 53.64%. Congratulations and a big thank you to all the voters in these 24 assembly constituencies who have stepped out and cast the vote. They have exercised their fundamental right, and they have also gone ahead and dispensed their fundamental duty to cast and take part in this movement that is democracy. Let's hope this trend continues into the forthcoming phases too. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, a big step towards one nation, one poll. The Union Cabinet has approved the recommendations made by former President Ramnath Kovindji's panel. The panel proposes simultaneous Lok Sabha and Assembly elections, with urban body and panchayat polls to be held within the next 100 days. The One Nation, One Election proposal was part of the ruling BJP's manifesto for the 2019 and 2024 general elections, but it has also drawn heavy criticism from the opposition, who have red-flagged concerns over the changes to the constitution and practical challenges. First, let's try and break down what the panel has recommended. In the first step, simultaneous elections will be held to the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. For this, no ratification by the states will be required for the constitutional amendment. In the second step, elections to municipalities and the panchayats will be synchronized with elections to the Lok Sabha and state assemblies in such a way that local body elections are held within 100 days of the elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies. This will require ratification by not less than 1/2 of the states. Creation of a single electoral roll and poll ID for this is going to be initiated. The constitution will have to be amended. These amendments will require ratification by not less than 1/2 of the states, and in the event of a hung house, a no confidence motion or any such event, fresh elections should be held to constitute the new Lok Sabha or state assembly for the unexpired term of the house. The Election Commission of India, in consultation with state election commissions, plan and estimate in advance and they have to take steps accordingly. Now, while the opposition has said that one election will destroy federalism, the government has put some arguments in their defense. Simultaneous polls are being held between 1951 to 1967. The Law Commission report in 1999 actually backed simultaneous polls. Parliamentary panel report of 2015 suggested simultaneous polls in 2 phases. Ramnath Kovind panel held extensive consultations too. 32 out of the 47 parties appearing before the Kovind panel actually backed the move. Extensive feedback also shows widespread support among the people, because we then do not become a nation that is perennially in election mode. Tom Vadakan, national spokesperson of the BJP with us. Adil Hassan, spokesperson of the AIMIM with us. Namaste and Jai Hind, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Adil Hassan, your thoughts. If we were to hold Lok Sabha and State Assembly polls together, urban body or municipal commissions and also panchayats together. So that's what they're saying. Agar beech mein koi ek sarkar girti hai for the remaining period of time, let there be immediate polls and there be a government elected for the remaining period of time. But we maintain this pattern so that the country is not perennially in an election mode. Your thoughts, Adil Hassan?
Sir, सबसे पहले my party categorically oppose this one nation one election bill proposed by the central government, because you know जब सरकार एक सेंसस नहीं करा सकती है, सरकार चाहती है कि रीजनल पार्टी को डिस्पैरिटी हो, क्योंकि ओबीसी मूवमेंट आगे है देश में और भाजपा आरएसएस और हमेशा चाहती है कि ओबीसी की लीडरशिप नहीं खड़ी हो, रीजनल डिस्पैरिटी होगी, क्योंकि आप जो रीजन हर स्टेट का अलग अलग डिमांड रहता है, वो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट रीजनल पार्टी उसको फुलफिल करती है। पब्लिक जो आम गरीब है, जो मजदूर है, किसान है, महिला है, वो अपने स्टेट सरकार से बातचीत करके अपने नेगोशिएट कर सकती है। आप 2000 लाल किला में लंबी लंबी बातें आपने की, 2022 तक आपने पक्का मकान नहीं दिया, पानी नहीं दिया, अभी तक टॉयलेट नहीं दिया। भारत का जो सभी स्टेट है उस सब में रीजनल डिस्पैरिटी है और आपको ये कोई पॉलिसी पैरालिसिस नहीं होगा। सबसे बड़ा, आप हरियाणा, जम्मू, महाराष्ट्र और झारखंड चुनाव नहीं करा सकते। खुद इलेक्शन कमिश्नर ने कहा था, जब हरियाणा में एक फेस्टिवल हुआ, उसके चलते आपको 3 दिन बढ़ाना पड़ा, तो वन नेशन कैसे? बिहार में छठ मनाया जाता है, महाराष्ट्र में गणपति होता है, ओणम होता है, कहीं बिहू होता है, तो क्या कीजिएगा? हर स्टेट के हिसाब से फिर क्या होगा इस पे? ये ओबीसी मूवमेंट जो सेंसस नहीं करा सके, जो बुलेट ट्रेन नहीं दे सके, जो महंगाई पे बोर नहीं करते, वो पब्लिक का अटेंशन को डाइवर्ट करने के लिए, रीजनल डिस्पैरिटी को और बढ़ाने के लिए और तानाशाही डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड को बढ़ाने के लिए ये मोदी और अमित शाह का एजेंडा है। लेकिन देश की जनता, भारत की जनता इसको मानेगी नहीं। They will oppose. जो asked Mr. Modi.
So you are one of the 15 parties out of 47 who have opposed, but there are 32. Yeah, there are 32 who have not opposed this. Are they or are they not with the common person or common man? Let the voters also. Voters also have a point of view there.
Everybody knows Mr. Modi is Mr.
No, one minute, Mr. Adil Hassan. I didn't speak when you were making your point. I am just saying, sir, there are 32 political parties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is only a member of the BJP. He is not even the national president of the BJP. He is the Prime Minister of the country, yes, but there are 32 political parties out of 47, as per the information, who backed one nation, one poll. But Tom Vadakanji, that this is going to create confusion, this is to try and just deflect attention, and it is going to promote authoritarian regimes or governments in the future. Your point.
Anand, that's very strange that the same process existed from 1952, 1957, 1962, 1967. There was no damage to the federal structure. These were elections that were conducted. And if you look at the gross breakup, 1951-52 election cost was about 1 crore. Then we came down to 2014, the cost was 30,000 crore. And then we had this figure that just came out in 2019, 60,000 crore, Anand. This is the exchequer. This is our own money that is being spent on elections. And if you have one election across the country and there is the referee, the election commission, looking at the situation in each state, there will be a dialogue of what are the appropriate dates. Each party will be invited to say, well, this is the restriction here, there's a festival happening. So there is the election commission which will take this into operation. Now, as to the frequent elections that are happening, development work goes for a 6, Anand. Every time, every third month, 6 months, you have an election. You have the entire educational sector affected because the polling booths are in schools. The teachers are polling agents, polling officials. So now the point is, you dislocate the entire system to what? And they say democracy is affected. Where is democracy affected? If it was possible at that time, it's legitimately possible now. And the issues are larger. Now talk about corruption. Look at the question of corruption and black money involvement. At one time election, money will flow for the relevant election, and it's not a continuous process of generating black money to ensure victory. It will ensure black money will be controlled, corruption will be controlled, and you have a stable government. And let me add one thing, Anand, and I think I need to put this in record. The Congress party, some of its leaders who go international for regime change, they must be a worried lot, because every time they think of doing a regime change, stability will ensure, whichever government comes in, whether it is the left, right or center, the government has a manifesto. They win elections on the basis of manifesto. 2019, 2024, we promised this and we will deliver. This is to be brought in Parliament, discussed. There will be an implementation committee which will ensure that all views are on the same page, and we are confident that by 2029 this process which had to happen will happen. Anand, this country deserves it. We need a stable government. We can't have governments which are at the fancy of some regime change preachers.
No, it's not even just regime change. Politics, everybody has the will, has the leeway, and of course the freedom to try all options available in front of them. But Adil Hassan, there are states where discerning groups have, the voter has shown, even if they have to choose for 2 levels, they have the wisdom to do that. They have shown it in Andhra Pradesh, they have shown it in Odisha. In the past, they have shown it in some of the other states also where simultaneous election, Arunachal Pradesh, simultaneous elections have happened. So it's not that कि states में simultaneous elections हुए नहीं हैं. और कई पार्टियों को तो इसका लाभ भी हो सकता है कि आपका लोकल सपोर्ट आपको नेशनली भी आगे प्रोजेक्ट कर दे उसी माहौल में.
ये टोटल डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड को बढ़ावा देगा. मोदी सरकार का आपने देखा कि चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया को उसने इलेक्शन कमिश्नर को बनाने में हटा दिया. जब इतनी डरती है मोदी सरकार की चीफ जस्टिस उस पैनल में नहीं रहे. आपके सामने सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि सीबीआई इज इन केज. आपने कहा कि अभी वक्फ बिल जेपीसी पर है. अमित शाह बोलते हैं मैं पास करके दिखाऊंगा. प्रधानमंत्री की सुरक्षा पे 535 करोड़ खर्च हो रहा है. एक बार प्रधानमंत्री कहीं जाते हैं तो 10 करोड़ रुपया इवेंट की तरह खर्च होता है. क्या उस पैसे में कॉस्ट कटिंग नहीं हो सकता है क्या? और इलेक्ट्रॉल बॉन्ड पे हजारों करोड़ का चंदा कांग्रेस और उसके हजारों से हजारों करोड़ का चंदा बीजेपी को मिलता है. इलेक्शन कमीशन हेट स्पीच इतना मुसलमानों के खिलाफ दिया गया. एक बार भी इलेक्शन कमीशन कॉग्निजेंस नहीं दिया. करोड़ लाखों वोट का मिसमैनेजमेंट है. ईवीएम का अभी एक रिपोर्ट आई है, उस पर इलेक्शन कमीशन नहीं कहा है. हरियाणा में एक त्योहार के चलते इलेक्शन को डिफर किया गया. क्या ये मामला है? नरेंद्र मोदी महंगाई, चाइना का इंकर्शन और बेरोजगारी से ध्यान को भटकाने के लिए ये लॉलीपॉप देते हैं. मिस्टर, ये सरकार मोदी सरकार नहीं है. ये बैसाखी की नीतीश, नायडू, मांझी और चिराग के बैसाखी की सरकार. ये गलतफहमी अमित शाह और मोदी नहीं पाले कि उनका डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड चलेगा. वो दिन गए जब नवाब साहब फाख्ता उड़ाया करते थे. अब ये सरकार लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों पे चढ़ेगी और नरेंद्र मोदी को आंख से आंख मिलाने के लिए वो जनता खड़ी रहेगी और एमपी खड़े रहेंगे, ऑपोजिशन खड़ी रहेगी. नरेंद्र मोदी को इस देश के सब कुछ नहीं है. उनको भी जाना है, उनको भी पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री होना है. तो ये डिक्टेटोरियल एटीट्यूड को बदले और जनता की अदालत में जाने का ये दूसरा जो बैकडोर एंट्री का मामला है, इसको हम खारिज करते हैं.
जनता की अदालत में कैसे बैकडोर एंट्री हो जाएगी, ये आपको भी तथ्य समझ
मैं बतला रहा हूँ, मैं तब दे रहा हूँ. आई एम रेडी टू गिव द एविडेंस. हजारों, सबसे 235 करोड़ रुपया गूगल के एडवर्टाइजमेंट पे भारत सरकार का खर्च हुआ. भारत सरकार का हजारों करोड़ रुपया नरेंद्र मोदी के चेहरे चमकाने में खर्च होता है. क्या वो रीजनल पार्टी को, जो दूसरी छोटी पार्टी को पैसा मिलेगा, वो अनुभव मिलेगा दूरदर्शन पर या नेशनल टीवी पर वो स्पेस मिलेगा? दो पार्टी, आप अमेरिका बनाना चाहते हैं देश को क्या? आप पानी गांव में सीमांचल जैसा सुदूर इलाका है, वहां पर पानी नहीं पहुंचा रहे, टॉयलेट नहीं है, रोड
पर
नहीं है,
आदिल
2017
हसन,
का
आप
NH
you
टूटा
would
है, वो
also
नहीं बन
agree,
पाया।
Adil Hassan, you would also agree that if the voter is smart, if the voter this time, as per you, अभी आपने कहा, the voter this time has actually brought the BJP down to its this one, and it's brought it down. It has ensured, it has tempered the weights of the BJP and the NDA. The voter, if the voter is discerning enough there, if the voter is smart, then when they don't vote for the BJP. Now you are saying that the voter is stupid, that they will vote for the BJP only if they are they have to vote simultaneously. They have to go only.
आनंद साहब,
Sir, allow me to make my point. Allow me to make my point. नहीं, देखिए, अभी तो जो प्रचार, देखिए, एक मिनट, प्रचार में जो आपके खेमे में आपके साथी बैठे हैं, उन्होंने कितना
पैसा नहीं, इलेक्ट्रॉल बॉन्ड का मैंने
आदिल हसन जी, एक मिनट, आप जिनके साथ, जिस गठबंधन के लार्जर गठबंधन फ्रेमवर्क के आप हिस्सेदार हैं या जिनके साथ आप काम कर रहे हैं, उसमें भी आप कई सारे स्टेट्स को देख लीजिए, उनके कार्यकाल में, दूसरी पार्टियों के कार्यकाल में मीडिया स्पेंड्स और एड स्पेंड्स कितने होते हैं और बीजेपी के कार्यकाल में कितने स्पेंड होते हैं। कोई खर्चा, जिसके पास पैसा है वो खर्चा करेगा, अगर पार्टी बंद नहीं है। लेकिन इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि नेशनल पार्टी हर जगह जीतती है, नहीं जीती ना। तमिलनाडु में कांग्रेस और बीजेपी नहीं जीती, तमिलनाडु में डीएमके जीतती, तमिलनाडु, वन मिनट सर, वन मिनट, तमिलनाडु में डीएमके जीतती है, तमिलनाडु में बीजेपी और कांग्रेस जितना भी पैसा खर्चा कर ले, रीजनल पार्टी का ही वर्चस्व रहा है, तो वहां रहा है। जहां पर रीजनल पार्टी नहीं है वहां रीजनल पार्टी नहीं है। बट Tom Vadakan, this increasing argument, 1 minute sir, this increasing argument, one, that you will not get support because you are weaker, two, that this is going to lead to an authoritarian regime or a tent pole. क्या आप भारत को अमेरिका बनाना चाहते हैं? That's also what something Adil Hassan said. Your point.
सरकार गिराने के लिए हमने कभी अमेरिका का या किसी देश का हेल्प नहीं मांगा। ये कांग्रेस पार्टी और ये जो आदिल जी कह रहे हैं, ये रिजीम चेंज का जो कार्यक्रम है, ये हमने ना किसी का मदद मांगा। हमारा डेमोक्रेटिक प्रैक्टिसेस वो है जो पंडित नेहरू के टाइम से जो है, इसमें कोई चेंज नहीं है। ये जो रिकमेंडेशन हुआ है, इलेक्शन कमीशन ने किया है, पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी ने किया है, लॉ कमीशन ने किया है, और ये एक ऐसा डिमांड है जो जुडिशरी ने भी मांग किया है। तो इन हालातों में आदिल जी, मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ, आपके जेब से जितना पैसा जाता है इलेक्शनों में, 6 महीने में इलेक्शन होते हैं, और उस इलेक्शन में होता क्या है, आपका पार्टी, हैदराबाद में आपने क्या किया है, आपके कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, पानी का इतने साल से आप वहाँ हैं, पानी का व्यवस्था क्या है हालत, ये सब पूछने वाला लोग खड़े हैं। और आप ये कह रहे हैं कि जो मैनिफेस्टो में आपने प्रॉमिस किया है, अभी कर्नाटक में क्या हो रहा है, देखिए, वो कहते हैं कि भाई हम ये सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जब करने का वक्त आता है, ये कहते हैं कि भाई हमारे पास फंड नहीं है। तो फंड क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि आपने ऐसे वादा किया। तो 5 साल कोई भी सरकार खड़े होकर अपना प्रॉमिसेस और मैनिफेस्टो का काम करे, तो वही हम चाहते हैं। कांग्रेस हो, बीजेपी हो, कम्युनिस्ट हो, AIMM हो, सबको अपना मैनिफेस्टो में जो प्रॉमिसेस आप करते हैं, उस पर आपको खड़ा होना पड़ेगा। ये नहीं कि इलेक्शन जीतने के बाद आप कहें कि भैया हमारे पास फंड नहीं है।
So are you saying, Tom Vadakan, that even if so,
यही हो रहा है,
how will the voter, now let me ask you this, Tom Vadakan, how will the voter, if there are one simultaneous Lok Sabha and Assembly polls, how will the voter choose about what's been delivered in Himachal Pradesh? Who's delivered? Because there will the BJP will vie for Lok Sabha, the BJP will vie for Assembly, the Congress will go in Himachal to the Himachali and say, okay, you got to go, but you got to press 2 buttons. One is for Lok Sabha and one is for Assembly. How do you think the voter is not going to get confused? Why do you think the voter will know exactly what to do in Karnataka, in Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, in Himachal, across the country, whichever state, let's pick it up? How will you know that they will not get confused? They will not get swayed by one narrative or the other. So they are swayed by the Lok Sabha narrative or the national narrative in the local election, or the local narrative in the national election. Tom Vadakan.
Anand, it is practically proved what happened in Orissa. There happened to be have simultaneous election. You found them voting on one side. They were not. You can't underestimate the intelligence of the Indian voter. He knows what he wants, and he'll get what he wants. The reality is, this kind of campaign and this kind of polarization cannot be a continuous process. The process of polarization starts with one election. 6 months later, they change positions and then they polarize, finding that this group has not voted for us. So you divide. So this process is a continuous process that is going on. This will end. Polarization, whatever they try, is tried once, and it's not a process. It will only start 5 years later, by the time people of India have realized that the government they have elected has delivered. And if you don't deliver, you don't come back.
Well, interesting that the ratification for some of the constitutional amendments has to come from 50% of the states, and the BJP NDA combined together have hold sway in nearly 60 to 65% of the states, if not more, out of the 28 states plus the union territories. Now that makes for an interesting equation that in the forthcoming year, in 25-26, before other states go to polls and this balance swings away, is this perhaps the winter session the best opportunity for the government to push this through, one nation, one poll? We'll see how that pans out. I have to move on for the moment, but Adil Hassan and Tom Wadakan, thank you for a very engaging but a very civil debate. Compliments to the two of you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I've got to move on for the moment. In a major drug haul, Mizoram police have seized 40 kilograms of methamphetamine tablets and 3 kilograms of heroin worth over 6 crore rupees in two separate operations in Aizawl. The seized drugs were concealed inside door panels of cars. Two people from Myanmar's Chin state and one juvenile has been arrested. This recent drug haul is a chilling reminder and a wake-up call to the threat both in and out of the country. From Mizoram to Manipur, is this turning out to be a huge national security threat? The Kuki-Chin-Zo connection. Is there more to it than meets the eye? This big drug economy worth over 60,000 crore, is it a tinderbox that we are all sitting on, ladies and gentlemen? Dr. Ankita Datta, researcher and columnist, is with us, and Colonel Shantikumar Sapam, spokesperson of the Meitei Heritage Society, is also with us this evening. My namaste and Jai Hind to the two of you. Thank you very much. Colonel Shantikumar, if I may start with you, this drug issue, how big and serious is this? And if it is moving in from the same Myanmar border, which both Mizoram and Manipur share their borders with Myanmar, how serious is this, and how much of money is floating around there, because of which activities against the state are quite prominent and possible?
Anandi, thank you so much for having me in your show. Drug problem is so serious. It's not only for the Northeast, it is serious for the entire country as such. And the estimated turnover, as you have mentioned, it is around 60 to 70,000 crores in a year. And when your turnover is this kind of money, so huge, one can imagine what kind of damage you can do with the people around in the Northeast, Manipur, Northeast, Mizoram, and the whole entire country as such. And with this, when there is a drug, there is always a gun power also there. The nefarious activities that are going on there, and it is shifting the golden triangle. It is shifting towards the western side, that is western of western Myanmar, Manipur, and this side. So it's a very dangerous thing, I would say, for the nation as such, not only for Manipur or Northeast, for the entire country as such. This is what I would like to sum it on this aspect.
But the involvement, is there a tribal connect to it? Is there a regional connect to it? Or is it just across the board that there are nefarious elements who are involved? Colonel Shantikumar.
Well, I would like to sum it here is that the cultivation of poppy, which is taking place in a huge amount, if I don't have to blame any community,
Colonel Shantikumar, I think we've just lost you momentarily. You're back with us. Go ahead, please. Please repeat what you said. We lost you there momentarily. Please go ahead.
What I'm saying is the poppy cultivation is such. This is taking place at the mountains where the cookies are in domination in that area. So I feel that the trees are much more from that side, and the farmers who are cultivating also mostly from that side. The workers, I'm talking about the labor as such, and a lot of when you cultivate poppy, a lot of fertilizers which are supposed to be coming down the paddy fields for cultivation of other agriculture this thing also is going diverted over there. So I would say a lot of angles are involved in this. For the for our survivability, there's going to be a big question if we continue this.
Ankita Datta ji, your thoughts?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yes. Namaste, Anand ji. Namaste, everyone. Now, see, I agree with what my co-panelist has just said, and most importantly, besides the commercial value of drugs, drugs in the Northeast has always acted as an effective instrument for acquiring control of the region among rival insurgent groups. Drug peddling and establishing control over the drug corridors have become a major preoccupation of the insurgent outfits here. And apart from poppy cultivation, as you said, India is a producer of mandrax and various other synthetic drugs like methamphetamine, including ecstasy drug, which is chiefly produced in Myanmar but have found significant markets in India. And the problem mainly began in the late 1980s and the 1990s when the drug trade began to spread its tentacles in the Northeast. And not just drug trafficking. Drug trafficking is associated with extortion, with organized crime rackets, with wildlife criminal syndicates, which are the major sources of funding for most of the insurgent outfits active here. Their top leaders, who are mainly based in the borders of districts like Churachandpur and More in Manipur, their leaders are known to encourage farmers in the border districts of Manipur, Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh to cultivate poppy. And in the absence of other various gainful agricultural initiatives and employment avenues, this region soon it fell prey to poppy cultivation on a massive scale, and a majority of the Kuki insurgent organizations which are based in Manipur, especially the border districts, they depend upon extortion, open extortion, to raise funds. And when their coffers dry up, they are always on the lookout for alternate sources of funding. So insurgent groups, they eventually begin to depend more and more on drug trafficking so as to sustain themselves. There have been several cases earlier of NSCN, NSCN-IM, NSCN-K, how they were involved in the collection of tax on the value of drugs which were passing through their area of control. The Imphal-Dimapur highway, that is the NH2, it is a vital link. In this important route leading to the Golden Triangle. So it is high time that the government of India adopts a strict border policy and seals all our borders. Because it is not just drug trafficking, it is also about the illegal trade of gold, illegal smuggling of Burmese betel nuts, timber, etc. Wildlife criminal syndicates, etc.
Now, they say that there are factories, these drop-down factories right along that porous border with Mizoram and Myanmar also, and what's being made there is yaba. This is meth plus coffee, which has got a lot of popularity across the board, and what's being caught is also tons of meth that's been there. Now, how does this money circulate, Colonel Shantikumar? And does it go into the hands of these nefarious elements who are now pushing up the strife content in Manipur? And is there this whole, is there any merit that there is a narco-religious connect to this entire secessionist agenda, trying to cull out a separate state there itself, driven by a religious identity but funded by narcotics?
Actually, initially, maximum drugs poppy cultivation used to take place in Afghanistan. Now the cultivation of poppy is completely banned in Afghanistan as of now. So it has been shifted this side. So lot of demand is there in the market, and since the demand is there, so production is taking place this side, and this has been observed by various must have been observed by various organizations, and that is what the poppy cultivation is taking place in this area, and then coming to Manipur. And the mass cultivation has taken place in the last 5 years, and of course this cannot be cultivated without the kingpin. Basically, these businessmen also must be there, and then they have with a different agenda. One more theory is also there, that when some country, when they sponsor a country for arms struggle or things like that, they also try to plan in such a way that the funding portion is self-sufficient and self-sustained. That is also there, just helping them from what I mean is foreign countries and things like that. So if you see in the last as a military man, I used to understand the angle from Myanmar problem and Manipur problem, and in olden days Mizoram and all. But then I never thought Bangladesh also would be involved. So in the last two let's say 1.5 months, it became very clear to me that Bangladesh, Myanmar, and India, that is a portion of Manipur, they are in this vicious circle. And it is the supporter of this armed militants. They are, I would say, that they are from the same organization as such. And we cannot neglect this, Burma Act 2020, Burma Act.
Right.
What is given there in that. It is very important, Burma Act. And I would say that is the act is very successfully conducted. That is what I would like to say. If you tell me that I must speak out regarding the Burma Act, I will submit it if it is for the public.
We will take that up on another day. I am running out of time, but just final word from Ankita Datta. How can this be curbed? Is it spread? Because you said Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, these 3 states in Bharat are involved or are affected. But is this also then finding its way into other regions of the country? And how big an issue of national security is it, along with, of course, the social menace that is drugs?
It is certainly it is an issue of national security, and if the Northeast the soil here is abundantly fertile for poppy cultivation. That is also one of the reasons. Poppy farming, although it is prohibited in Manipur under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985, but from Manipur it has of late spread across the hills of the northeast and some zones in the Imphal Valley as well, involving people from many different communities. And in 2018, the BJP-led government in Manipur had launched a war on drugs to curb drug trafficking, illicit poppy cultivation and its consumption. And the cultivation of poppy, it is prevalent along several remote tracts also in different states of the northeast, which was not prevalent earlier. And this may be understood from the operations which have been undertaken intermittently by different government agencies to eradicate these cultivations. But the cultivation has assumed an extremely organized form, especially in Manipur. The root of the entire conflict which is going on, as we are seeing in the state, and a section of the Manipuri farmers, especially in the border districts, they have been encouraged continuously to cultivate poppy for greater profits. This is a huge threat to our national security, to our borders.
Right. Thank you, Ankita Datta and Colonel Shanti Kumar, for joining us here on this conversation. We'll take this whole story forward, ladies and gentlemen. CNN News 18 will do a deep dive on this entire drug menace. How far is it spread, and how much of it has been used to perhaps corrupt the minds of the locals there into believing a particular identity which is not true, and is there a religious angle to it to try and carve out a separate state, this entire secessionist agenda. We'll deep dive into that and the role of narcotics in that, and how important it is to try and block and patrol those borders and to stop this free run for these kind of agencies and agents and entities. Thank you very much. Moving on quickly, Ankita Datta stays on with us as we turn the focus and the spotlight from Manipur, Mizoram, just a little further down towards the east of our country, that is to the state of Jharkhand, ladies and gentlemen. CNN News 18 has been at the forefront of exposing how there's been massive influx of illegals in border areas. Now, in a first, even the Enforcement Directorate has initiated investigation under the PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, against illegal infiltration of Bangladeshis and Rohingya in Jharkhand. The enforcement agency will look into a larger conspiracy, including the gains from infiltration being deployed into politics. Now, during his rally in Jharkhand, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had alleged that the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha was supporting infiltrators, and the fact was that illegal immigrants from the neighbouring country had managed to establish influence over the ruling party in the state. Listen to what the Prime Minister had said.
संथाल परगना में आदिवासियों की आबादी तेजी से कम हो रही है। यहां के लोगों की जमीनें हड़पी जा रही है। घुसपैठिए पंचायतों पर, व्यवस्था पर कब्जा कर रहे हैं। बेटियों के साथ अत्याचार की वारदातें बढ़ रही है। झारखंड के शहर हो या झारखंड के गांव, इस घुसपैठ के कारण हर झारखंडी असुरक्षित महसूस कर रहा है। साथियों, सच्चाई ये है कि जेएमएम के लोग बांग्लादेशी और रोहिंग्या घुसपैठियों के साथ खड़े हैं। ये घुसपैठिए और कट्टरपंथी जेएमएम को भी अपने कब्जे में लेते जा रहे हैं।
Who are these Ghuspetiye and how do they come in? Here are the details. Our Security Affairs Editor Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details. First up, the funding is coming from, and sources, intel sources who are confirming this to us, funding is coming from various organizations of Islamic Cooperation Nations or OIC nations to build madrasas and mosques there. They identify land which is close to the border areas and build mosques and madrasas in those areas. Infiltrators are then sheltered in these madrasas and then they stay there for a long period of time, and in the meantime they're working with touts and paying them off to get and make farzi papers, including Aadhaar cards. And one paper made and then they get all the other documents made, and once these documents are ready, they get in touch with agents in other states. So they relocate them into Bengal, Assam, and of course Jharkhand and some of the other areas. Local politicians then also avail of these facilities and these people, and gradually the infiltrators are allowed to stay and establish themselves, because when they get in, these illegals are offering themselves for all sorts of odd jobs, and the women also, a lot of them dragged into prostitution, and that's how these local netas get honey trapped, and then local netas eventually succumb. They allow them to embed themselves and then use this lot under fear, favor, etc. as vote banks. Intel sources allege that the entire nexus is at the behest of the state government. That's the allegation, something even that the Prime Minister had pointed to. The sources are revealing to CNN News 18 that Jharkhand government is actually patronizing the infiltration of Bangladeshi Rohingya in a systematic manner. The demography has also changed in a very designed manner. That's the allegation. There's a significant decrease in the population of the local tribes in many districts. The ED probe is also to understand the source of funding and possible strategy of the state government in shifting the demography from tribals to non-locals. Dr. Ankita Datta, researcher and columnist with us. Nirmal Kaurji, former DGP Jharkhand, is also with us. Nirmal ji, namaste. We've spoken about Jharkhand and the issue. Ankita ji, thank you for staying on. But let me ask you, Nirmal Kaurji, how serious is this problem? Because the numbers show a significant dip in the tribal population, the Hindu population, but an unnatural jump in the Muslim population in these regions. Because even if the TFR ratio were to be slightly higher, these numbers of a shift from about 9% to 22% are alarming.
It's a geometrical kind of increase, and it's a very, very serious issue, serious problem right now in Jharkhand and of course in many other places also. Pakur area of Jharkhand is very close to the Chicken's Neck. That is the area where they generally come in from, and they're in Sahibganj and all the districts. And what is happening is the Muslim men who are coming from Bangladesh and other places, they are marrying the local tribal women. And these tribal women, they are sarpanch or something, and they get to exercise all the power. And there are many instances in which a whole bunch of Aadhaar cards was found in a mosque, and they all had the same date of birth. And now there are places where schools are being closed on Friday, in Jantada and all. Schools are being closed on Friday without any authorized this thing. Sunday is the day of rest. Sunday is the day schools are closed. The country over. But on their own in Jharkhand, there are places where they have started closing the schools on Friday. कि जुम्मे का नमाज है, जुम्मे का नमाज है या जुम्मे का whatever, so जुम्मा has to be a holiday. So they do that. And the most serious, recently in Muharram, there is a place called Gopinathpur there, a very Hindu village, but the configuration has changed so much by these migrants that on the day of the Muharram, there was some, they just drove them away, the Hindu families. All the Hindu families ran away from the village. Now the village is a fully Muslim village in Gopinathpur. The Hindus are refusing to come back. So it's a very, very, the problem is assuming very serious dimensions. And I think it's, where are they getting Aadhaar cards? And they have these small children taking out processions with Palestinian flags. What are the small children who are just barely 11, 10, some of them are on motorcycles. And lots of houses, lots of places they're displaying Pakistani flag. And this Sultanate Usmania, the Ottoman Republic flag. It is everywhere in so many localities. I don't know what the Ottoman Empire flag has to do with us. There was that soap, some soap translated by Pakistani, Artugul or something. That is where they are watching and they are displaying that flag. The Palestinian sympathy is so much. They are taking out Mohalla Juluses, doing some Nukkad kind of a thing for with Palestinian flags and in Palestinian support. So situation in Jharkhand is very bad. And of course, there's so much of increase in number of madrasas and, these mosques. And the mosques are costing, there's a madrasa in Chandaway, very close to Ranchi, in Kanke block, Chandaway. Where it is, I think the mosque and the madrasa together wouldn't have cost less than 20 crores. Such a large mosque and, and so many places, there's so much of, transit, people, floating population in mosques and madrasas. 200 families come, they must be coming from Bangladesh on some forged papers, and within a few days they're out. They have networks all over the country. They go somewhere maybe to work as construction labor, domestic help, a driver, whatever, you name it. But they absorb so quickly into the system and they vanish. They vanish almost overnight when these families come. And there's no strict control. There are all the river beds, the mountain sides, it's a very hilly terrain. Ramgarh also on the hillside, the other side of the hill. All the Rohingyas and Bangladeshis, they live in a 10 by 10 kind of a jhopdi, a structure, and there are at least 30-40 of them living in that house.
My God.
They're living in, but they've come here, and the worst part is that the demography has changed so much that the peace has become very unstable. It's just waiting for
because if they've got to embed themselves, they are not going to get into local, they are going to encroach into property. Either it's government or it is claimed, and then suddenly they use the Waqf Act and then they claim it is Waqf, and then nobody can touch those lands, and then they are let out given it back to them, and they continue to dwell on those at very, very nominal rates. So this has also been reported. I just want to quickly ask Ankita Dattaji, and then I'll come back to you, Nirmal Kaurji. Does this then make a very strong case for NRC? Because we can't have tribal lands, land of indigenous people being taken away. This is Jharkhand. It has happened in Assam in the past. It's happened in Tripura. It's happened in It's happened in Manipur. It's happened in so many states.
Yes, true. We all know about this problem. So therefore, it is the NRC, National Register of Citizens, extremely important. At the same time, it is also extremely urgent to spread awareness in the society about the threats of demographic invasion. Because if this flow of the immigrants, if it is not timely regulated, this is soon going to outnumber, and it has already outnumbered the natives in so many different areas of Assam. In the Barak Valley, in Lower Assam, bordering Bangladesh, where women's safety has become a serious concern, and this is traumatic upon families. It is already adding to the problems of social, economic, cultural, and administrative marginalization of the native people in their own homeland. Illegal immigrants, they have already led to a massive increase in organized crimes like cross-border wildlife trade, drugs and cattle smuggling, especially in Dhubri district of Lower Assam bordering Bangladesh, extortion, looting in many border areas of the northeast, including Assam, especially those districts which border West Bengal along the sensitive Siliguri corridor. There are intelligence reports which have pointed fingers time and again at the Jamaat-e-Islami and its patron, the ISI of Pakistan, because both of them have been actively using madrasas that have proliferated in increasing numbers along the India-Bangladesh border to infiltrate immigrants into India and settle them with the help of their kith and kin who are already settled here, and then so that they could be used as spies. They are well trained for that purpose. So it is all the more important at present now for the native people to understand the looming threats of demographic invasion posed by these migrants, and see this problem of Islamic immigration is today causing havoc on the politics and the culture of the Western countries. Yes, and we are also grappling with this problem of an altered demographic profile in our own country, besides increasing crime rates.
Should along with the next census, NRC be brought in, Nirmal Kaurji? Is that now the need of the day if we need to secure our land borders and also our own people?
Definitely it is. I think we have to address this issue of demography very, very quickly and in a very strict manner, enforce it very strictly and thoroughly. Because it's not only Jharkhand, it's all over. Like Uttarakhand, when 30 years, I have trekking friends, mountaineer friends. 30 years ago, we trekked all over Uttarakhand and there was nothing. It was Dev Bhumi really in the true sense. Now it is Mazar Bhumi. Everywhere Mazars are coming. People are coming via Nepal. People are coming, Nepal is the regional headquarters of ISI. People are coming via Nepal. They are coming into Araria, Purnia, Uttarakhand, all these areas, Kishanganj, Bihar, Dinajpur, North-South, then Chaubis Pargana, right, Murshidabad, all these districts. And the problem is now, that this chicken's neck is become a very, very, like any time it can get out of hand. So I think the solution is immediately, as has been mooted earlier,
right.
because there are 3-4 states there. To take districts out of there and make a union territory where immediately things can move, because the state governments have very, very myopic they can't see beyond their vote bank. And for them every illegal immigrant is one vote, and they get them in droves so that they can, they arrange their voters ID, they arrange
we'll try and deep dive into this with a cartographic understanding. We'll try and do that very, very soon here on The Right Stand, and I'll request you ladies to join us back then when we have a longer discussion, because this chicken's neck region and what you said, how it's spreading, needs to be represented on our map, and for us to understand the national importance, the strategic importance of getting into the act and acting sooner than later. Thank you very, very much, Nirmal Kaurji and Ankita Datta. Thank you very, very much. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, it's the Hezbollah who've had a pager strike. Now, who breached the terror security wall? Stay with us.
Me now from Jammu. She's been keeping a very close track. She's been talking to the BSF security forces in the run-up to the first phase of elections. Arnima, some great visuals that we're getting from Jammu region. A lot of enthusiasm, and the voters also looking quite upbeat. They've been speaking to you. So over to you. Fill us in with all the details. How's the josh amongst the voters? Well, unfortunately, we have lost Arnima. We'll just get back to her, but just take a look at all these visuals coming in now from different places, and we will keep getting you more updates. Now, as far as Jammu region is concerned, what's very important to point out here is the ask from the Kashmiri Pandits. They are seeking action on long-standing issues. And they're saying that we want now the government to walk the talk. They want urgent action on their long-standing issues. Obviously, employment is also another area which is of very big concern. Ishan Vani, my colleague, is also going to be getting us all the updates. He's been tracking the developments from Kashmir region. In fact, he just is getting us this report from Bij Bihara, which is Mufti's bastion. Her daughter, in fact, is also going to be contesting. It's her first political battle. Hello and welcome. You're watching Battle of the States, and I wish we were coming to you directly from the Dal Lake, the gorgeous Dal Lake in Srinagar, but we're joining you from the CNN News 18 studios. We're covering the big elections, the Jammu and Kashmir elections. It's a historic one. It's a very important one, and we're also, tracking the developments, people coming out in huge numbers to cast their vote. In fact, there's a lot of enthusiasm among the voters as well. So a warm welcome to all our viewers. Voting has kick-started in this historic Jammu and Kashmir election in Phase 1 today. Remember, the state is going to poll in 3 phases, and today is the first phase. It marks the first assembly election since Article 370 was abrogated and was revoked in August 2019. This vote is a key test of the government's policies ever since that big change had taken place. Now, over 23 lakh voters will decide the fate of 219 candidates spread across 24 constituencies in 7 districts. 7 districts are going to polls today. The National Conference and the Congress, they have joined hands. They have come together for this very important elections. The National Conference, in fact, is contesting 51 seats and the Congress Party 32. There was a lot of negotiation, a lot of back and forth. Omar Abdullah also saying that it wasn't really something that was very settling to come together, but compromises have been made, with the Congress getting 32 seats to contest from. 5 seats will also see, quote unquote, a friendly contest between these two important parties between them. BJP, meanwhile, is going to be focusing on gaining ground in Kashmir, where it has really struggled in the past. And that's going to be very important because there's been a lot of change in Kashmir as well ever since the abrogation of Article 370 has happened. Most significant one is the sharp decline in the stone pelting incidents. Now, what's really going to be a worry is the banned Jamaat-e-Islami, which is also participating in these elections. So that's the big one coming in, an update that we're getting you. All right, now let's tell our viewers a little bit more about what is in store in these elections. And we're going to
Lebanon was rocked by a pager strike, the new face of precision warfare. At least 12 people were killed and some 3,000 injured, including the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon, when thousands of pagers exploded nearly simultaneously in Lebanon. The attack, which purportedly targeted members of the Hezbollah group, caused havoc in the civilian areas and overwhelmed hospitals. So, who was behind it and how did this all take place? And even as we speak, for a second day, there are reports of communication devices exploding across Lebanon and in the southern suburbs of the capital, Beirut. First, let's tell you what happened. Detonation started around 3:30 p.m. local time in Beirut. Synchronized detonation lasted for almost an hour. Some detonations took place after the pagers rang. Victims put their hands on the pagers or checked screens. Blasts appeared to only to wound the person wearing the pager. So what caused the pager blasts? And imported pagers who have been intercepted. They were rigged with plastic explosives. 3 grams of explosives per pager. Message was sent and that detonated the explosives and the explosives went undetected for months. Now there is also another explanation that some code was sent into these instruments which caused the lithium batteries in them to overheat and then cause the explosions. Even now we're given to understand walkie-talkies are exploding and this continues. Nadav Steinman, Board Chair, International Legal Forum, is with us. Namaste and good evening. Thank you for your time. Who's
good
behind
evening,
this?
Thank you.
Is this even possible? This is next level precision warfare, Nadav.
Well, we know that it's possible because it happened, right? If we concentrate on the facts themselves are quite clear. The idea of it being precision attack is an interesting concept because it's a concept under international law of war, that there is the concept of being a precision attack is one that is permissible under international law, that if this is an act that we can an act of the Israeli government which has not yet been proven, but if it was, then it is certainly completely justifiable in the extent of its precision against people, its severe lack of collateral damage, and it's also its proportionality. If we avoid all the rhetoric as much as possible, and if we concentrate on the facts themselves, we know that Nasrallah himself is the one who ordered that his members of Hezbollah were not permitted to carry cell phones. We know as well that Hezbollah is the one who ordered these pagers. We know as well that they were all in the hands of members of Hezbollah, although it does question why the Iranian minister to Lebanon also had one in his possession. Furthermore, we know that the attack happened almost instantaneously against all of these pagers. So if it was something of a foreign government, and if that foreign government was Israel, who has been under attack by Hezbollah for almost a year, where they launched more than 8,000 missiles against Israel, then this precision attack is one that would be permissible under international law and should hopefully provide a deterrent against Hezbollah to continue their attacks, and the deterrence factor. And again,
but someone has to have given them access, because this deal was, if it was a closed deal and it was ordered specifically for Hezbollah cadre, someone has to have breached this security wall to be able to push this code or whatever that triggered these devices to explode. Nara.
Clearly, I agree with you. There would have to be a coordinated attack, not just from remote sources. I mean, I don't know enough of the technology to be able to provide you with some additional insight, but clearly this is coordinated at many levels. You know,
but you believe that under international law, this is permissible because it's precision?
An attack that is precision, a precision and proportional attack, are attacks that are permitted under international laws of war. Also, if the pagers themselves are being held by members of Hezbollah, which we know that to be a fact, and they're using them for communication, which is, we know what their intent is for communication, and it is used by soldiers of a terrorist organization, we also know that it is a legitimate military target. And the device themselves, as well as anybody who is holding those devices, that is a legitimate military target. So all of those matters, if you take a checklist of what is needed as a, call it,
so it ticks those boxes.
Law.
But so far Israel hasn't said that they did it. Everybody believes they did, but they haven't said they did it. Naraf, thank you. So they live in that plausible deniability clause where everyone knows they did it, but they themselves have not admitted to it. Thank you very much. We're going to wind up this edition of The Right Stand on that note. Brass Tacks with Zaka Jacob up next. Stay with us.
Graphics for our viewers, just to give you a good sense. Look at these beautiful shikaras. We have got our shikaras to tell our viewers, about the importance of not just the shikaras, which is such an important thing for Srinagar and all those, who have been going to Srinagar ever since the application of Article 370. Tourism, in fact, has seen a massive increase and people have enjoyed these shikaras. So assembly polls happening after a decade, after 10 long years in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. First elections post the application of Article 370 and, right now, what's really important is that there is heightened terror, because we have seen an uptick and surge in terror-related activities, which has been very concerning for the security forces, especially in the Jammu region because of the tough terrain, the forested area. So the militants, they have changed their tactics and they are adopting various means to try and disturb the peace in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So polls are happening amid renewed terror incidents. You have 24 of the 90 seat that is going to vote today. So all in all, there are 90 seats, and this election in Jammu and Kashmir is going to happen in 3 phases. As I had said before, the first phase happening today, 24 seats are going to poll, 16 seats in the valley, 8 in Jammu region. So 16 seats are going to polls today in the valley, which is extremely significant. And then you have 1.23 lakh first time voters in phase 1. What is going to be very important is the youth participation. That is something that is going to gain prominence. Just how many youth or youngsters are coming out, jobs, unemployment, those are some very big issues. And also development. You have the BJP who have been stressing time and again not to vote for separatism, to vote for peace, prosperity, for security and for jobs, for livelihood in the state. So that is something that the BJP has been stressing on. You have the National Conference and the Congress Party who want to go back. They are vowing to restore full statehood to Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, they're saying that they'll bring back Article 370 as well. Those are some of the promises that are being made by all of these political parties. As I was mentioning about the BJP contesting on the 17 seats out of 24 seats. And as I had just told you, the Congress's and the National Conference's promises. So the BJP contesting on 17 of the 24 seats. That's an important one. And as I've mentioned, employment, development are going to be the big factors, the big factors that will really be of prominence. So there are those visuals there, people coming out in huge numbers. Arunima, my colleague, joins us me now from Jammu. She's been keeping a very close track. She's been talking to the BSF security forces in the run-up to the first phase of elections. Arunima, some great visuals that we're getting from Jammu region. You know, a lot of enthusiasm and the voters also looking quite upbeat. They've been speaking to you. So over to you. Fill us in with all the details. How's the josh amongst the voters? Well, unfortunately, we have lost Arunima. We'll just get back to her, but just take a look at all these visuals.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. The Union Cabinet today accepted the recommendations made by the Ramnath Kovind Committee on One Nation, One Poll. The rationale and the logic for having One Nation, One Poll is simple. In a country as vast as India is, we have either general elections or some state assembly election virtually every 6 months, as a result of which the government machinery, whether it's central government or state governments, are focused on polls from time to time when they should be focused on the issues of governance that affect the people. Therefore, to save costs, to save resources, to save time, and